Hello and welcome to the Castaway Pop Punk Vinyl podcast. Each week I ask my guests which 3 albums and 1 book they would take with them if they were stranded on a desert island. So sit back, relax and enjoy 2 people randomly talking about the music they love.
Okay, Tom, shut the fuck up. Okay, here we go.
Welcome everyone to episode 3 of the Castaway Pop Punk Vinyl podcast. I am joined this week by New Jersey pop punk band FRND CRCL. So I'm joined by Dom, Adam and Zach from the band. FRND CRCL, how are you?
Good.
Good, man.
Pretty good.
Good. Thanks for being here for episode 3. Life in New Jersey treating you well? How's kind of lockdown restrictions? Is that eased now or?
Yeah, it's pretty chill.
Yeah, it's like easing up, and then I don't know. We're in a state right now where I don't know if we know what's going to happen next, but
it's mad. I don't know
it's
about
interesting.
you.
It's interesting. There, it's pretty lax where we're at. But if we go to Philly to play a show, or even just to do something in Philly, it's noticeably more. People are a lot more careful. It seems like in places like Philly.
Pennsylvania started like lockdown stuff again. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So you have to wear a mask in Pennsylvania and a lot of places now. New Jersey, we're still good.
Yeah.
But I think we've been pretty good for like most of this pandemic. Like our numbers have been like pretty okay. At one point, we're like the safest state in the United States. So
it still blows my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you guys, I guess, at one point were in full lockdown, couldn't leave the house. That's what certainly happened to us.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, crazy. Well, so we're not going to really talk about your journey as a band and what you've got coming up. We'll touch on it at the end. But as you know, this podcast is all about kind of your music choice, and if you're allowed 3 albums to take with you on a desert island. So the 3 of you have been stranded on a desert island. You've got 3 albums each. What you'd take with you, why you'd take it, your kind of relationship with the music that you love most, just so fans can see a little bit behind the curtain as to what influences you, I guess. So I've got 3 albums from each of you. I don't know who wants to start first. Should we start with Zach?
Sure. Yeah, I'll go first.
So Zach, what's album number 1? I've got to say first of all that your album choices are kind of probably up there with what I would choose out of the 3 of you. You've picked my favorites.
Awesome. Yeah, my first one is the Mark, Tom, and Travis show, the live version of Enema of the State, basically, in like old Blink-182.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, when I first joined, I noticed the Blink poster on the wall immediately. So I was like, nice, this guy's gonna get it. So I was gonna pick Enema of the State, and then I was thinking about what other Blink album I would possibly pick, and then the Mark, Tom, and Travis show just overtook it because I think it captures like the moment in time and like how cool it was and like what it would be like to be at a Blink show with Tom DeLonge. And like that's something I think that always gives me a nice nostalgic reminder of how Blink-182 used to be. And them being my favorite band, I just immediately can like connect that to like my childhood or like anything cool that happened in that era of pop punk. So that's definitely my first choice.
Yeah, I love that album so much, especially the like the live talking at the end, like those last tracks that are like 30 seconds to a minute long, just so hilarious. And I remember, it's so funny. And like you said, picking Enema of the State, and this album gives kind of the best of both worlds. It's got Enema tracks on there, but it's also showcases that like why people love Blink so much.
Exactly. And like you said, it is hilarious. Like I'll listen to it to this day and it still makes me laugh.
I know. They're the only band ever to actually like be legitimately funny on stage, and people go for the comedy as well as the music.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolute solid choice. Second album, what are you going for?
So the second album is a little more, I guess, modern. I would say it's the 1975's first album. I guess it's their self-titled one.
Yeah.
I started getting into them recently, maybe within the past couple of years, and like me and my girlfriend kind of bounced those songs back and forth between the band, and I just resonated so heavily with like the vibe of it, like the indie. It's like the indie bedroom poppy kind of thing, and like the instrumentals, and it was like it was the same. It had the same effect that Blink had on me when I was like growing up, in a sense of like I didn't know music could sound like that, and it was super inspiring, and I definitely took that into new friend circle music. I was kind of thinking too, like if I was on an island and I didn't have this album, I don't know, you know.
It's so good because it's so many different. I guess if you're like, I don't know, if you are on a desert island, any mood that you're experiencing, you can probably put that album on and feel better. So you've got Chocolate on there, which is like, yeah, I guess upbeat track, but not necessarily.
Yeah.
It's just kind of got a cool groove, and then you got Robbers, which takes you in a completely different direction.
It's heavy.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that band. I remember first hearing Chocolate on the radio, thinking like, "Oh, who the fuck's this? This is awesome!" Just that riff,
Yeah.
and then the production on it's just insane. I was like you, kind of thinking back in the band that I was in back in the day, just thinking, how can I incorporate some of that sound into our music? But it's so difficult to do because they're just geniuses.
Exactly.
Yeah, quality band. Do you like? I guess without taking up too much of your time on the 1975, the albums following it from, I guess, what you've got now with the latest albums, very, very different.
Yeah, I do like it. I think certain songs get kind of out there, I guess, as far as the instrumentals go. But I think they still have it. Like there's big singles on that last one, and even some of like the B tracks I really enjoy.
Yeah. So third album.
This was the hard one.
Yeah.
This was the hard one. I chose this because I was trying to picture if it rained on this island that I would be stranded on, like what would I want to listen to? And this was the album that popped into my mind.
Yeah.
I guess this is also a self-titled plus 40. Oh no, When Your Heart Stops Beating is the name. Yeah, I love this album. Again, this is like childhood stuff to me, I guess. But more so in the later years of post Blink-182, like almost touches on like the emo part of whatever music was at that point. But yeah.
That's really interesting because I guess some people, hardcore Blink fans, will either go for this album or We Don't Need to Whisper by Angels and Airwaves. Both kind of happened at the same time. I think you're either going to fall in love with one over the other. For me, I was like way more into Tom, so I thought this album was great, but Angels and Airwaves kind of tipped it for me a little bit.
Yeah, I love Angels and Airwaves too. I wasn't even thinking of them, honestly, or else that might have been another option. But this one, I think some of these songs just kind of fit the mood for me personally, as far as what I would want on this island that I would be stranded on. But
yeah,
all in all, good.
Do you have a favorite track on the album?
Oh, for a while it was Make You Smile. Then it was Chapter 13.
Yeah.
And right now it's No, It Isn't. What about you?
Probably Little Death might be
Nice.
my favorite track. Yeah, that's a cool song. Cliff Diving's also good.
I love the chorus in that song.
Yeah. Also, Baby Come On. I love the chorus in that. Cool. So that's your three albums. Let's move on to Adam, because Adam, I hadn't heard any of these, well, apart from your album number 2. But you've introduced me to 2 new albums that I'd never heard before, which I absolutely fell in love with. So let's talk about
which ones haven't you heard?
So let's go through album number 1. What would you take?
Peripheral Vision, number 1. Turnovers, Peripheral Vision. If you haven't heard this,
I have not.
I introduced you to this.
Me too, my friend. Me too. It's absolutely awesome. So for people that haven't heard it, how would you describe it?
So Turnovers, they're an interesting band. They're from Virginia Beach, Virginia. So they kind of have beach vibes to them. They were a pop punk band like for their first album, but this is their second. This album, if you're gonna put something to it, it's like kind of like dream pop, but also pop punk influences. And it's a really good nighttime album. Like you pop it on in the evening hours, man, you're chilling, you're relaxing.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought. It's very kind of atmospheric, but poppy and pop punky at the same time. It was just, I genuinely, for the first track played, and I was like, wow, this is awesome. I haven't heard anything like this before.
They're unique, yeah. And at the same time, they haven't done anything like this album since.
Yeah,
They've put out two albums since. They're the one after this one, Good Nature, I think that one's called. It's weirdly enough, it's a great morning album. This is a
yeah,
good night album. That's a good morning album. And then their fourth album, it's like jazzy. I didn't really get too into it, but I think this is their best album, and this is one of my favorite albums ever. It's just like from top to bottom, really relaxing. There's a lot of drones going on, so you'll hear like one note going on through an entire song, and they pull it off
yeah,
like well. So it's cool.
yeah. That's awesome. Anyone listening, Turnover's Peripheral Vision album, definitely give it a listen. Because as I said, I hadn't heard it before, and I'll definitely be listening to it a lot. So thank you, Adam, for choosing that album. Album number 2.
I'm guessing this is the one you've heard. Dance Gavin Dance's Happiness.
Yeah,
This is a unique time for Dance Gavin Dance. This is the only album with the specific vocalist. And it's the only album where John Mess wasn't screaming on it.
yeah,
So, John, and I mean, I love John Mess. He's got really nasty, disgusting screams, and they sound like somebody's dying, which is cool. But I think this one's cool because their guitarist screams on it, and he usually raps.
yeah,
So it's just a unique album. Like when I listen, like I love Dance Gavin Dance. I always listen to them, and I think it's like a unique time in their past. And to me, it's their most unique album because there's a lot of funk in it. At the same time, it's also really heavy. So it's like I don't know. It's just a unique time.
yeah. I think for me, it captures that kind of old school emo, especially in the sound of his voice. It's like kind of
Oh, yeah.
old school TBS, brand new, and it's like that time capsule which just reminds you of that period of emo music. I mean,
Exactly.
Dance Gavin Dance have got so much music. Their back catalogue is absolutely huge, going
Yeah.
back to 2007 all the way to like last year. Just always
Yeah,
releasing
and,
music.
and then depending on the era you listen to, it's going to be completely different. With like when Johnny Craig was in the band, it was. I mean, that's to me when I think of Dance Gavin Dance, I always think of Johnny Craig being in the band, because that's
Yeah.
like the beginning of them. But now that they have Tillian, I forget his last name, Tillian, very high pitched singer. Not everybody's into how he sings because it's literally falsetto like the entire time.
Yeah.
But yeah, Dance Gavin Dance is solid, man.
Yeah, I always find it interesting when bands change singers. Like, are they going to still
Yeah.
keep going? But they've done it. People have stuck with them, I
They're
guess.
like 4 times, I think.
Yeah,
I lost track.
yeah, mad. So your third album is an album that I also hadn't heard. I hadn't heard of the band, hadn't heard of the album. So
Movements Feel Something. Yeah. Relatively newer band. I want to say they put out their first music in like 2016 or something like that. This album was 2017. But yeah, this was the first thing I ever listened to by this band, and I was blown away by this album.
Yeah.
It's similar for me. It relates kind of like Peripheral Vision does. It's kind of dark. It's another evening album. It's an album that like you need to be prepared to get into your feels.
yeah,
Hence the name Feel Something. But you need to be prepared for that before jumping into this album.
yeah, for sure. And I think it's this album, but I could be wrong. So forgive me if what I'm about to say sounds ridiculous to you. But I think the singer sounds a little bit like Ryan Key from Yellow Card.
I could see that. Yeah.
Do you hear that?
That's yeah.
That
I
kind
do. He to me like this vocalist always seems unique because he does the spoken word thing, which sometimes I like. I'm like, okay, let's keep going, dude.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
other times it's cool. It's cool that he does it.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So I'm definitely going to check out Movements and their previous work, and definitely kind of keep on top of what those guys are up to. So I guess this is why I wanted to start this podcast as well, because there's so much music out there, and there'll be so much music that means like the world to other people that I've never heard before. So it's really cool just to be introduced to some new stuff.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely.
So, yeah, let's move on to Dom. Dom, your 3 albums, probably the most diverse out of everyone's. You have a real kind of
Right.
eclectic taste.
I was thinking like, oh, if I'm going to be stranded on an island, I better go for variety.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. So, what is the first album you'd take with you?
I think the first one I went with was Future Me Hates Me by the Beths.
Yeah,
Um, it's something about that record, like they're great songs, but they're so simple. Like all the instrumentation is just so tight. There's really not much that's happening that's complicated in it. It's pretty straightforward, but it's just done so well. And there's great lyrics all over the album. Like I really like in the opening track, a Great No One, when
yeah,
she's at the end of the chorus, she says stuck in between ache and the apathy or something along those lines.
yeah,
I think those are just great words, I think.
yeah, yeah, for
And
sure.
she's all over the album with great little some of the stuff is a little like humorous, a little bit like in a
Yeah,
I guess like a cynical way.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But,
They also have a song called "Little Death" on that album, which ironically I quite like as well. Something about
love
the
it.
songs with that name.
Nice.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
the Beths are actually probably quite new as well. So this album, was it their debut album? Came out in 2018.
Yeah, I think they put out an EP the year before called
Yeah.
Warm Blood.
Right.
Um,
Okay.
I
Nice.
was they were supposed to open this Hella Mega tour that's going right
Were they?
now. Yeah. When they announced that tour in 2019, they were either on a couple of the dates or they were opening the entire tour. I can't remember, but I was really excited to see them. But then COVID happened; they can't come because they're from New Zealand.
Right. Oh, what a
Which
shame.
is the other thing. The other thing, you can hear like their thick accents.
Yeah.
Like it's something's really endearing about that to me.
Yeah, you actually can. Now that you've said that, if you know, it's not American, that's for sure.
Yeah.
They also got a live album, the Future Hates Me live album, which came out this year. Which I've
Is
not
that
listened.
out? Oh shit! I didn't know.
Is it out? Oh no, they just got one song from
All
it.
right. Yeah, I was
Just
excited about
just
that
looking on
when I
Spotify.
heard about it.
Yeah. So are they good live? I haven't heard them live or seen them, but
I've only seen videos on YouTube. Oh, that's how I found out about them, is watching YouTube videos. And me and Adam found a video of them doing the KWXP or
The
whatever the heck it's
KEXP.
called, KEXP.
Yeah.
And it actually wasn't the original band members. I think because they had come. I guess that's in America, so they came over. But it was just the singer and the lead guitarist with like fill-in musicians
yeah.
playing with them. So they had a bit of a different sound, and that's how I was introduced to them. And then when I heard the record, I was like, "Oh my god, this is so tight. It's just like really well done, you know."
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so moving on then to your second album. What have you chosen?
I think the second album was Mastodon's "Crack the Sky," which is probably their best album. There's tons of great riffs all throughout, which is what I love when I listen to that album. I just love paying attention to the guitars mainly.
Yeah.
There's tons of great guitar solos, and it's just experimental enough not to where it feels like a metal album, but it's also not a metal album. It's kind of like a classic rock album in a way. But there's tons of stuff, all throughout it, and it's interesting. There's only like 6 tracks.
Okay. Yeah, it's not.
Yeah, it doesn't even run an hour, and there's so much like different type of stuff happening throughout each track.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. I mean, Mastodon aren't a band I'm particularly familiar with. I'm a bit of a snob when it comes to like heavier metal music, so um, I've been obsessed with Slipknot for forever. Um, and then I kind of dipped my toes into like Cradle of Filth for a little bit. Um, Absolutely love Metallica, but that's kind of about it. Everything else, metal-wise, I'm no, not interested. And
Gotcha. Yeah.
I don't really understand why. Like Slipknot is like so brutal and so, if you're a pop punk kid, why on earth do you love Slipknot?
Right. Yeah.
um, so,
Yeah.
so
Mastodon's not the heaviest metal band. I think they're more melodic actually than most
yeah,
metal bands. And the guitar playing, it's like heavily influenced by like this like southern rock, sort of like really like noodly, like almost like banjo playing. And even on this album, the second track opens up with a banjo.
oh really?
Yeah, it starts with like a little banjo.
Oh, that's cool. I might have to give it a go. I might have to kind of rediscover Mastodon, I think, and because I can see they've got a 10-minute, well, nearly 11-minute track, which is split up into different parts. And I always like that when bands do that. Um, just thinking to like the classic Deuce of Suburbia, songs being broken up to make one big track is always pretty interesting.
Yeah, that's I think there's two examples of that on this album that are just great.
Yeah.
I think what was that track called? I have to keep pulling it up so I know what I'm talking about. The Czar, yeah,
Yes.
yeah, because I don't want to say the wrong track or whatever.
How do you pronounce that?
I think it's Czar. Yeah,
Czar?
CZAR.
Yeah. Yeah, nice. Okay, perfect. And then your final album, which I can't fault you for this choice.
Nice, man. Yeah, Arrival by ABBA. Which is all the way back in 1976. But this is such a good album. I mean, it has fucking Dancing Queen on it.
Yeah.
You know, there's so many great pop tunes on this album, and they're produced in such a strange way. And the technology, like I guess you would say, I mean, they were recording to tape when they did this album, obviously, because it's in the 70s.
Yeah.
And there's just so many funny sounds that aren't even like, it's not an instrument. It's just like there's like weird distortions and stuff, and their voices sound kind of strange sometimes. Just
Yeah.
not because they wanted it to sound that way, but just because that's how it just happened to sound. And there's something about that, along with the genius songwriting. Um, I can't listen to that album enough because it's just so, it's like you're hearing something different other than people playing. I don't know, it's weird.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. You've got the Money, Money, Money on that album, Knowing Me, Knowing You.
Yeah.
People don't kind of realize how much they influence the pop world, and therefore the genres that followed on from pop just had a huge global influence. And there's probably a bit of kind of humor related to ABBA. People think it's they're just kind of jovial pop group,
or like just like kind of just be like, oh, that's a disco thing, and then just like hate on disco.
Yeah, exactly. Hear it at a lame party, and that's kind of it. Probably their best album.
Yeah, probably. I would agree with that. There's other tracks by ABBA, like "Take a Chance on Me." That's a great song.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I think this album really does have their best work. And it's all compiled into just like whatever it is, 10, 11 songs or something like that, 12 songs.
Yeah.
It's like when I hear an album that's that many tracks and they're all good, it's just like, how do you do it?
I know. So between you guys, then I think you've got a really good. I reckon you could survive like a year without getting bored of the music that you've got. So you can play Turnover in the middle of the night, stargazing. You can have some Mark, Tom and Travis show if you're feeling a bit down. Get some ABBA on if you want a party night. There's loads of stuff. There's loads of moves that you can tap into. So yeah, I don't know if you kind of spoke to each other before you gave me all your album choices, but I reckon you'd have a nice eclectic collection of music on that island, and you'd never really get bored.
Yeah, it's too bad we didn't have Aaron on here. I don't know. I guess he couldn't make it. Maybe he had work, but that would have really made it interesting. Because I don't know, there would probably be like some random like rap album. You know what I mean? Like,
Aaron would say like Lil Baby or some shit.
Right,
Yeah.
Right, let's talk about the band then before I let you go. So what do you guys do in the band, first of all? So let's start with Zach.
I play guitar, I do vocals, and I write songs, and yeah, that's what I do in the band.
So there's 2 vocalists in Friend Circle, right?
Yes.
Yes, I'm the other one.
Oh, nice. So Adam, you're the, I guess, would you say you're the lead singer, or is it a bit of a Blink thing going on?
Split vocals,
Awesome.
dual vocals. We make a huge emphasis on like, you know, jumping in between lead parts and harmonies. Like me and Zach do some weird stuff. That's pretty hard, but it's fun and it's unique. But yeah, I do vocals and bass.
Yeah. And Dom?
I play lead guitar, and that's basically all I do. I do a couple of little background vocals here and there when we're like recording, but I'm not really doing those live at the moment.
Cool. So you released a single, Complications, recently. Just tell us a bit about that. What's the inspiration? A bit about the music video. The music video is really cool.
The music video, we basically chiseled it down from a bunch of like overly complicated, convoluted ideas that I had, and those like all included like, you know, getting a lot of extras and a lot of props and this and that, and that's kind of how it goes. And then we just chisel it down to something more realistic. And our director, Kurt Foles from Series Cinema, got the location. He was able to build that big blue background that you see in the video.
Yeah.
And we were able to get my girlfriend and a couple of her friends to do it, or to be the extras in the video. So that ended up working out pretty well. And like the whole idea was like, okay, let's just have these girls rob our band practice, and you know, they'll steal our guitars like right from under our noses while we're playing. And I think the whole thing came out pretty cool.
Yeah, really cool. I really like the CCTV shots mixed with like the proper high res blue vibe that you've got going on. I think it works really well.
Kurt's got a lot of cool gear. He was telling us that day when we were making the video, the camera he was shooting with is the same camera they shot Stranger Things with.
No way.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it's like the same like 8K, like ultra high definition.
Oh, that is my dream to own like gear like that. It's so expensive though. You must have spent.
We shot that video in was it a Blueberry warehouse, guys? Is that what it was?
It was like a giant refrigerator.
Yeah, it was. So it was, first off, it was cold because it was like a refrigerator for blueberries. And second off, it was literally in like, when was that? Like February when we recorded it?
I think it was February.
So it was like just cold stacked on cold.
Dude, I think it was in January.
January. It was stupid cold. But it was fun to record.
Yeah, how do you even? It's impossible to play guitar when you're that cold.
Well, there's a video of me, and I'm just sliding my fingers on my bass, like over and over, because my bass strings were literally wet, because that's how cold it was. I was trying to get the wetness like off.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it was super cold.
That's a nice bass in that video too. Is it a 5-string?
Yeah, I play a 5-string Fender jazz bass. It's called an Akome. It's like a African hardwood. They only made them for like 2 years.
Oh really?
And then they discontinued them.
Nice. Keep hold of that. Might be worth something.
For real.
Yeah. So Complications is out now. I highly recommend you guys listening to go and check it out. Yeah, I came across you, I can't remember now, just in my, so I started my Pop Punk Everything page like in February time. And I've come across quite a few bands, but there's like a handful of you that kind of just stick with me. And yeah, you're one of them. I think your music's really awesome. It's really well produced. Do you go to a studio? Is it home recordings?
We record in our friend's basement. It's made to be basically a studio, but it isn't. So we don't really. You wouldn't say like we go to a studio, but he's got all the gear.
Yeah.
For the most part, he has all of the gear that you would find in just about any studio that a band like us would end up going to. You know.
Yeah.
It's not like he has a giant mixing console on it, or anything like that, but he's got, the like top of the line audio interface. Actually he has 3 of them. He's got 3 of those, and a great room, which is his living room, to do drums in, and it sounds immense in there, and plenty of microphones to choose from when we're miking up amps, and just the right amount of things to get it done, and honestly always exceed our expectations.
Yeah, for sure. I'd be absolutely, buzzing with the sound that he gets for you. I mean, like I said, the production's really, really cool. And I guess with gear these days, you don't need to spend a fortune going to, fancy studios, and a lot can be done from home.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's definitely plenty of money put into what he's got, but it is a lot less than you would find at a real studio. Yeah.
So in terms of shows, I guess restrictions easing. Have you got shows coming up?
Yeah, we're actually getting ready to go on tour in September with our buddies in Goalkeeper.
Oh wow.
And yeah, the whole restriction thing is we're kind of seeing it unfold as it's happening right now. And one of the venues in Ohio had already announced that you're going to need proof of vaccination or a negative COVID test up to 72 hours before the show or something like that. So, I mean, I hope that's like the worst of it. I don't want to see any of the shows get canceled.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're just kind of waiting, seeing what happens.
Yeah, it's so hard, isn't it? Goalkeeper are kind of definitely a name that people will know, I think. So that should be a cool tour.
Yeah.
As of right now, like down south of where we are, like southern states, like things are getting canceled right now. Like shows are getting canceled, and tours stuff's getting canceled there. But like where we are, the Northeast, it's okay right now. But like who knows? Who knows what's gonna happen? But
yeah,
we're kind of just banking on this tour. Getting canceled because we had our first tour canceled. So
yeah,
it's such a bummer, isn't it? Just
weird, you kind of get it right. Yeah, no, it's like you're like, damn, I want to do it safely, but I want to do it also like very soon.
Yeah, mm-hmm. Absolutely.
You gotta strike that balance.
Yeah. Well, we had the whole vaccines are our way out of this, and we have quite a high uptake of vaccines. A lot of people are double jabbed now in this country, and things are opening up, but it's still difficult. Things are still getting cancelled. So who knows? I don't know what's going to happen. So in terms of new music, are you always writing?
Yeah, I think we're always writing. I'm always trying to like present songs to the guys, and like every now and then we'll just work on something new. Maybe even in the middle of like rehearsal. Like last night, Dom was showing us an idea, and we started working on that just out of the blue. So we're always working together and making new stuff, but we're also preparing for our next big release, which hopefully is an album.
Nice.
Yeah, nothing really confirmed yet, but like the songs are starting to pile up, and I think it's just a matter of us like setting aside the time to do it. It'll probably be over the winter. But we've got a couple more songs ready to go that are you're gonna be hearing about it very, very soon, I would say.
Yeah. And other than what's prepared, we always have more unfinished rough draft type, like just ideas that we can even really keep track of. Like I remember even last night we were talking about, remember that one song, what the hell was it called? And you were singing with this funny, like there's just so many ideas and so many song ideas.
Yeah.
I don't think we would ever run out of songs if we had all the time in the world to sort them out.
Yeah. So is there like a main songwriter? Zach, you're the main songwriter, or do you contribute equally?
I would say I bring like a foundation
Yeah.
or like a chorus or like an idea, and then I'll ask the guys about like the structure of the song and like what we can do there, and then everybody contributes their parts, or like we divide up maybe vocals, and sometimes like that process can be daunting, but in the end I think especially recently, like with Complications, like everything just ends up in a place where it feels right.
Yeah.
We're getting better over time.
Yeah.
It's like it develops, and learning how to work better with each other and everything, and like every band goes through these developmental stages, and I mean that's what we're going through constantly.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and it's cool because we're like doing new elements and stuff too, and like it feels like at least we're always pushing for the next thing rather than sticking to the same recipe, I guess you could say.
Yeah, well, that's how you keep fresh and relevant, isn't it? I mean, there's always that, you're going to get people saying, "Oh, it's a different direction. I don't like it. They've fallen out of touch with who they are."
Mm-hmm.
But equally, you don't want a band that stays the same their whole career, because it just becomes boring anyway. And also, you just want to push yourself, see what you can do creatively as well.
Yeah, exactly. Like I forget what classic rock band it was, but they just like made this big announcement, and they were like, I don't see the reason in us making another album ever. I feel like it was like a giant hair metal band. I don't want to say it was Kiss, but maybe it was.
Yeah. Oh, really? I think I remember Coldplay saying something similar. Like,
really?
That's it. Now we're done. We've done all we need to do.
See, I feel like they could have the tools to make something completely new and different. But hey, that's my outsider perspective. They've got such big songs already, so I don't know.
Well, I agree. I mean, they're always pushing the boundary, aren't they?
Yeah. Awesome.
Well, thanks so much for your time. You guys were really interested in talking about kind of why you love the music that you do. It's a really cool insight. I just want to say, whenever you've got new music, drop me a message. I'll always share it. I have my fingers crossed for you in September for your tour. Is it September or October?
September.
Yeah, fingers crossed that all manages to go ahead. If you can get to London one day, then hit me up. I'll be there.
That's the goal.
That's the goal. Absolutely.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, guys, you've been great. Really interesting. Complications is out now. Everyone go and listen to it.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
No problem. Thanks a lot for your time, guys.
Yeah, man.
See you soon.
Take care.
Take it easy.
Bye.